I'm Anthony Fio, and you're listening to the Talk Carby to Me podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, uh, this is the Talk Carby to Me podcast. My name is Anthony, and joined as always by my co-host Sandra.
Hi, happy
Uh,
Halloween.
yes, happy Halloween! Such a fun holiday.
Yeah, we like spooky, scary, and a lot of sugar.
Spooky, scary.
Not to be negative about the holiday, but the commercials have been awful.
Which ones?
All of them. I don't really watch a lot of things with commercials, but mainly Peacock, and I've been rewatching The Office, the Superfan edition. And they're just like certain commercials. I just have to mute the phone and like swipe away until they're over.
Just people having fun, living their best lives. Like,
Yeah,
oh man, The Office.
I'm
What it
not a
would be like to
super.
have the Office current right now and new.
I really wish, like, now looking back on, like, especially how it started, I wish it would have evolved. Like, I know they can, you can't keep a show going on for that long, but even if, like, aspects of the show would have kept going on, I think that would have been so interesting.
Yeah, that show wouldn't survive in today's climate, though. Like,
Yeah, I know.
like that show is gold. It's a gold mine for humor. It's super relatable too, but that show would get eaten alive today.
There are definitely things, like, especially from a racial standpoint and stuff like that, are just being said on the show where it's like, you can't say that anymore these days.
Yeah,
It's kind
it's,
of a shame.
yeah. I think the episode for me is Scott's Tots, though. That's the most cringe episode of all time.
I don't remember that one right now off
The
the top.
one where he, like, goes to the school and he promises scholarships, I think it is,
Oh.
scholarship, and then he has to go back there and explain to him that it's not happening, and, like, it's like they have, like, this whole thing for it, like, watching that episode, I was just like, "Oh."
I don't think I've seen that episode yet on my rewatching.
Yeah. Definitely do that while you're at add dodgeball, to your list of things to watch.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Halloween, super fun. I think I like Halloween because it's fun for all ages. I think if you look at a lot of holidays, um, there are a lot of, they're geared towards the youth, obviously. Like, obviously, Christmas is way more enjoyable for a child than it is an adult. Um,
I don't know, I can disagree with you on that one. I love it very much as an adult.
I,
I
I
think
think
most people
I,
don't.
I think the energy of the end of year holidays is great. Like, obviously, you got friends, you got family, you're kind of reflecting on the whole year and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, Halloween is one of those nights where it's like, hey, like, you want to go dress as a Pop Tart? Like, by all means, go for it. And
Yeah.
it's just really cool to see people, like, just kind of get out of their comfort zone a little bit and get involved with some costumes.
Did you dress up for anything, or are you gonna dress up tonight?
I'm probably not going to dress up tonight. I'm actually a little tired. I mean, I sound
Yeah.
like an ancient old man here.
I mean, it is a
But
Monday night.
yeah, it is a Monday night. Not Monday's usually like my day to, like, get admin stuff done. I don't train too many people on Mondays, but it's just kind of like that, like how people talk about, like, the Sunday scaries. For me, it's Monday.
Mm.
Um, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I have, like, a witch hat that I'm gonna put on for the trick-or-treaters, and that is the extent of my Halloween dressing up I'm doing.
Hey, it still counts. What's like your favorite Halloween costume you ever had?
I didn't really have that many. I grew up in Germany when I was a kid, so we didn't really. I mean, now people are doing more Halloween there, but we didn't really like dress up for Halloween. You had like different holidays you dressed up for. I don't know. I must tell you, I'm like one of those weird people, and judge me for it, but I don't really enjoy dressing up that much.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really enjoy it too much. Like, I don't mind, like, putting on, like, some silly clothes or whatever for, like, an event or, like, kind of take my own personal style and make it kind of fun, but I don't really enjoy the whole, like, I'm gonna go buy a costume for, like, $60 and I'm gonna wear for one time in, like, the cheapest fabric. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I
Yeah.
think so. I think all time for me, I think I have three costumes that, like, stand out, and I feel like I really did the thing. I obviously leaned into my strengths on these. So I think one year I was Where's Waldo?
Oh, that is
That or
amazing
Waldo
image
from
Waldo.
Where's Waldo, right? So you
Yeah,
just have a pinstripe red shirts and glasses, all right, and just throw on a little Scully hat and super simple. I kind of have the same complexion as Waldo, so that was a big hit. Um, Oddly enough, I went when I was Waldo, we went out to a nightclub and there was a gigantic dancing Barney, right? Which reinforces why I love uh, Halloween because what other day are you going to see like a gigantic purple dinosaur like twerking like on a dance floor? So that was
very
fantastic.
true.
Um, then I was Maverick from Top Gun. This was maybe 10 years ago
Also,
now.
sounds like
Um,
something you would wear. That sounds good.
Yeah, like, I mean, Top Gun, for those of you that don't know, possibly the best cinematic experience of all time, both the original one and the most recent one. If you don't get goosebumps watching those movies, I got nothing for you. And then I think probably my favorite costume I ever wore was I was Clark Kent one year, um, and that was just fantastic. Just had a threw a blazer on, I had the glass, the horn rim glasses on, obviously I'm very particular about my hair, so it just happens to fit that exact kind of look. Superman T-shirt underneath a shirt and tie, and turned out pretty good.
That doesn't sound too bad. I actually met my husband at a Halloween event, and we were both dressed up, and that was probably the last time we actually ever put on a costume.
Was it one of those things where like he went to the party as bacon and you were eggs, and like it wasn't planned, but it was like, oh, this works.
He was actually like a Spartan, and I was a flapper girl. And I think I still have the costume. I'm not sure. I have to
Yeah,
really do some digging.
I
But
could
yeah.
totally, I could totally CG as a Spartan.
Yeah, the only reason why he turned up like that was he had like a red cape, and that was basically like he's like, okay, got my costume. That's what he says.
Yeah,
It wasn't
Eh,
there for the before decision.
I love it.
How was your
Um,
last week now?
huh?
How was your week? Tell me.
The week was pretty good. My workouts have been getting better. I think this is the time of year, like when you get in that weird thing where it's like I'm coming out of summertime, I'm going into the winter. We hibernate a little bit more. We spend a little less time outside. Generally, in the fitness industry, um, this is around the time where people like myself be like, hey, let's see if we can add a little bit of muscle because obviously you're going to be wearing hoodies, so you can afford to get a little chubby. Um, I say that very jokingly because you can get bigger without getting too chubby. But yeah, so I've kind of been in that like limbo between the two kind of phases. And I think one of the things that I'm focusing on right now has been just kind of moving well.
Mm,
So I'm not at my usual intensity. Um, I'm not at the usual volume in a training week. But the body's feeling good, stretching a little bit more, and just kind of feeling things move and stuff like that before we get into what's probably going to be like a 20-week bulk um,
mm.
that I'll be doing.
Solid.
Yeah. The other thing I've been getting, I don't know if you run into this. I get bombarded with targeted ads. Like I'm waiting for Instagram to drop the paid version. Like it doesn't matter what the number is, just drop it, and I'm instant
You're
customer.
willing to pay.
Yeah, like listen, I have Instagram. I get a lot of sports news from Instagram. Oddly, I keep up with my friends, what they're doing. Like they're on a pumpkin patch, or something. This happened. I took a picture of this, or here's my new car, stuff like that. Or I did this workout, things like that. Like I also apparently. This one time I went down a rabbit hole where like there was all these monkeys and like diapers and they were like, doing like things that like a baby would do. And I'm like, oh my God, I need a monkey. Like how dope would this be to have just my own little buddy following me around? I know I could just grow up and have a child.
You sound like Ross from Friends. He had a monkey.
Right. But how awesome would that be? Like, obviously, like, I'm not talking like, oh, I've got a silverback gorilla. Like, I don't need something that's going to like crush me. But like, yeah. So, like, and then I see, I get hit with a lot of puppy videos, which I'm here for. Like, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But I get these targeted ads. I get the, hey, if you're a gym owner, um, and if you like, you want to, it's like, I'm not a gym owner. I don't even like, never even posted anything about it. I've never even looked at anything even close like to who owns a gym on Instagram and stuff like that. And then it's all this coaching, these coaching seminars and stuff like that. Like if you're a personal trainer that wants to gain like, 1,000 new clients this year, like hit my DMs. And it's like sponsored. And it's like, I don't want to see your face. Like, you poor guy. Like you're working your ass off over there, I'm sure, but I've had to like mark you as irrelevant like 15 times. Like,
Yeah, I don't really get those advertisements too much. I do get mainly a lot of pregnancy ones right now, since if you don't know and you're listening, I'm 31 weeks pregnant. So I get a lot of those pregnancy ones. But before I definitely got a lot of those. And it's just kind of annoying because I don't know how credible these people are. Like, who are they to give me advice?
right.
Maybe I should be giving them advice. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with social media. I think with a good point, it's like you can just post anything, and you see a lot of things that are kind of crazy on there, which is, and I'm being we're going on to the light layer of this topic where it's like, oh, like this workout like worked really well for me, and like this is what I do in my program, and you're like upside down doing a handstand on a Bosu ball, and it's like, is this person credible? Like, are you qualified to be like
Yeah.
doing stuff like that. And I think that's those things are always really funny. But I mean, I can't relate to the pregnancy thing. I couldn't imagine. Um,
I
how,
only expect for you to be able to relate to it. I don't even think I could have related to it up until going through it.
yeah. So when's the baby due again?
It's New Year's Eve.
Oh,
We're really hoping for 2022, baby,
yeah,
because everything gets a lot more expensive in 2023.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Your
Yeah, definitely.
deductible starts all over again.
That's how they get you. Like, there's someone in an office somewhere just rooting. Like, yes,
Yeah.
the
Come on.
2023. Come on.
Yeah.
Like you go get an ultrasound and it's like that thing where like that meme where it's like where you have like the gym rat dad and like the pregnant wife and he has the headphones on the stomach and it's like what's the baby listening to, and it's just the audio from Ronnie Coleman squatting 800 pounds, like they're just like be born, it's just someone holding like be born next year like subliminally like
Totally, totally.
oh man.
Oh, man. What's a
um
positive that happened this week?
a positive thing that's happened in the last week,
Yeah.
I think I think the podcast was a good thing. I know we've talked about it for a while, and I got some good feedback from some folks that checked it out. So thank you very much.
Thanks for
Love you guys.
listening.
But I think, and kind of going back through, and um, I think I'm a big me personally, and I think if you look at all the endeavors that I kind of jump into, I hate comfort so much. I think we talked about it briefly. Like I've been a top performer just about most of the things. Now that's not me saying, "Hey, I've been the best at everything." I've just been pretty damn good at most of the things that I've, excuse me, put my mind to. Um, and I think what was exciting about it was obviously you, listening to that, and if you took the time to listen to that first episode, right? I think there's a comfort that comes with podcasting, and it's like a skill that's still there to be gained. And I think that'll improve, and like that room for development and growth, I think is really exciting to me. And if you look at, a lot of stuff, what I believe in training and nutrition and things like that, and direction of everything that it's going, I think that's the big part. Like a lot of it is about growth and development. And I think that was a big thing now. It was a little humbling hearing my own voice. But at the same time, I think if you look back personally from a personal growth standpoint, like when I was like, in sixth grade, seventh grade, you have to do these presentations and it's like I have to stand up in front of this room of people that I've known for like the last 8 months of the school year. And I have to tell them about the Watergate scandal. And I'm terrified. Like, this is the word. You would think I had to go like in front of the nation and strangers in a tutu. Like, that was my reaction when I was younger. Um, so to be able to, like, as an adult, just kind of hear myself like in a situation where I'm kind of doing the same thing, and things like that, and just hear the differences from like where I used to be to now. Like it's kind of cool to see. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
So I'd
I
say that was like the big positive from the week.
Yeah. I was telling you, I had, like, no idea that, like, you were that nervous. It does not come across.
Oh yeah, I honestly like look. I never really noticed that like I had anxiety. Mostly because I was always like I was almost like one of those people that was too busy to realize that they had anxiety. Um,
Good cure for
and
anxiety, just be too busy.
yeah, and I mean, as we go throughout the podcast and we talk about like nutrition and stuff like that, we'll talk about things and like emotions and like how your life is going and stuff like that and how that might play a role in like dieting and stuff like that. But one thing that I never kind of realized, like, so when I was younger, me and my parents would go out to eat a lot, and my bodily response to new situations was basically what you would call IBS, right?
Mm,
It didn't matter what it was. Like if we went out to a new restaurant, I was gonna die, right? So when I was younger, you see like the memes now where it's like, oh, we went to this nice Italian restaurant just so my kid could get chicken fingers and fries and stuff like that. Like that was me when I was younger, mostly because I was afraid to eat new things because it would just trigger this reaction in me. And it got better as I got older. But yeah, like that was a thing, and like obviously, anxiety hits people in different ways, but eventually I realized it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of this actually makes a whole lot of sense, and things like that. So, what about you?
um, what part about me? My anxieties?
Your anxiety, you're bulking a child in your body. That's
I
exciting.
am bulking a child right now, my body. Yeah.
We love gains.
Yeah, so actually, I didn't even tell you about this before we started recording. I woke up this morning, actually had anxiety. That's been lately my thing in the morning, just like waking up anxious. And I can't sleep well right now because everything hurts. And I woke up, and Guillermo always, so my husband always goes first thing to the gym in the morning. And I woke up in time and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to go with you. That wasn't really my original plan, but I said, you know what? Screw it. I'll just go with you now. Ended up deadlifting 205.
Hell yeah.
It's been a couple months since I was able to do that, so that was super, super exciting. And then, of course, for the rest of the day, I'm just been super tired. Like, I basically
Yeah.
went to the gym this morning, deadlifted 205, and I've just been exhausted ever since.
Yeah. No, I
So,
can imagine. That's awesome. Like
yeah,
we love a good 205, right? Plus you're deadlifting a baby, so the
yeah.
two,
I did
two
I did attempt 225. The only reason why I didn't is because the bar was really slippery and it kept slipping out of my hand. There's actually like videos of me, and like I'm having to catch the bar as I'm deadlifting it.
yeah,
Of course, it's a setback.
hands on the deadlift. I've been running into that so much lately with like myself and my clients. Um, and I'm like, oh, like, and I have nothing against lifting straps. But for those of you that have the same problem, just get lifting straps. Your lower body's a lot stronger than obviously your wrists and your grips are. Once you reach a certain point in your lift, um, you don't want your hands to be the thing that's limiting you from getting the most stimulation possible in your movement, the most load that you can do and stuff like that. So um, get you some solid grips to
See,
go
I
through
like
with that.
to use, liquid chalk for my deadlifts.
Yeah, I've never been a big chalk guy. I don't know why. I think 'cause it's messy and like I
Liquid chalk is a whole different ballgame.
yeah, when I'm working out, like I wear black a lot, and when I'm gonna end up like just covered in chalk. Like I got like just a face like pie to the face powdered. Like I'm gonna look like a mess
Yeah.
if I do that.
Well, let's okay, I love that you brought up this whole, like, straps thing because it's, like, not a subject we originally had planned to talk about, but I love that you brought it up because I see that all the time, and so I know one things that we wanna talk about today, like, kinda like what was, like, what grinds our gear, and
Yeah.
totally unscheduled and unplanned, but yes, that's one of the things that grinds my gear is people that just started working out at the gym, and they got, like, all the accessories. They got, like, the straps and the whole 9 yards, and it's like, dude, you just started working out in the gym. Like, yeah, your forearms are gonna hurt you when you're deadlifting, but that's part of it. And you have to go through that. I feel like that's part of like, I don't know, boot camp of working out. It's in my opinion. You have to go through that, build up a certain like foundation of strength, then you can bring your straps in. Then you can bring some of these tools in. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, it's not far off. Um, a lot of things are like that. And I think like if you look at what's a good example that's not training related, you like, go into like say you're going to get into snowboarding, and I use this example um, because it's a personal one. Get into snowboarding, and now you need snowboard, you need the best jacket, you need the best pants, you need I mean your board has to look cool, you need a new bag, like your board's got to be good, or your bag's got to be cool, like your goggles have to be dope. Now I need a face mask, now I need a hat and stuff like that. So you just get all this stuff, and it's like maybe the skill part is a little bit more important. So I kind of see what you're saying, which
Yeah.
is
I think that's also a big thing actually in the fitness world too. Like people are like, I'm gonna start working out now. I'm about to change my body. So they get like all the top, like the best of the best of the best, right? Of everything. And then 3 weeks later, like, where did you go? Come back. You just bought all this cool stuff.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Why
I
did you get
it's
it?
and we're almost at that time of year where you see a lot of that, right? Like if your New Year's resolution was to lose weight this year, to get in shape, get your fitness on, and you're still grinding, like shout out to you. We love that. But for a lot of people, it's not the reality this late into the year. I think the data shows it happens almost in February, right?
Yeah, I mean, February is I think is like the real like that's like the last wave of people that end up dropping their New Year's resolution. Like first 2 weeks of January, everyone's going strong. Third week, you see the dwindle starting to happen, right? And then it's just like nosedives after that.
Let's play devil's advocate. Do you think it's maybe Valentine's Day's fault?
No, okay, so I know I'm being like super critical, I feel like, but I was that person and I still sometimes like I fear like if we're talking about anxiety, like I always have this anxiety that I will become that person again of being that person that like I never thought I would be the person that goes to the gym. I never thought I would even love it. Like I was always more of a dancer. I always did more like group activities and I thought I'd be more of a group fitness person. Like it was always been I've always used the gym before I got really into it, as like something I'm just like slaving away a little bit. Like it's like my little torture place, I gotta go torture myself so I can go eat some more food or something like that. Or I have to like punish myself at the gym there because of all my bad habits I had beforehand. So I have a lot of empathy for people that have a hard time building new habits. So I want to start off by saying that.
And for the record, everyone has trouble building new habits.
For sure. Right. So I think sometimes people look at people that are trainers and stuff like that, or who are big, like workout people, and they're like, oh, they must be a different person. And all I can say is, like, I was that other person. Wait, no, they must be different people. So we need to cut this part.
Or we could just let it run out. Okay, we
Okay,
can.
fine. So, okay. So we're like you look at personal trainers, you're like, oh, like they must just be a different breed of people, right? Like the fact that they love it so much and stuff like that. But I was on that. I wasn't. I've been on both sides now. I've been on the side where like I love the gym and I had a community there and I love being there and I wasn't intimidated by it anymore. But there was a large part of me beforehand that I was very much intimidated. I very much was that person that had these New Year's resolutions, and then 3, 4 weeks later, just no was nowhere to be found anymore. And to answer your first question was like, why do you think that is? I think it's just the fact that like you run out of steam. You run out of motivation. Like it's no longer exciting, right? So when you first start off your New Year's resolution, there's a level of excitement and motivation there. And I live by this motto: when motivation goes away, discipline has to take over.
Love that.
Yeah. And, quite frankly, I'm not a very disciplined person. I'm constantly having to fight to be more disciplined.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. In coaching and fitness, obviously, you want it to become a habit. And just like you were saying, like I remember before I was like a quote unquote gym rat. Um, just the concept of it, like going to the gym for me was like terrifying.
Yeah.
Like this sucks. Hell no. I'm gonna go run. Because for
Yeah.
a lot of my life, I mean, I was a football player in high school and stuff like that, and not a very good one. I will admit, I was a practice player though. Like I could ball out in practice, but any other time, it was not happening. Like for one reason or another. Um, Now that I'm a little older, I understand kind of why, but um, I think, and so for most of my life, I was like that out that like, oh, I'm not going to the gym. Like, God, no. Like, I mean, I would hit like, I went one day and I'll hit arms on like a random Friday night. And then like my next session would be like 3 weeks later. And I'm like, haha, I'm in the gym. Yeah, working on myself.
Yeah.
Um, and like the motivation thing, like, I've, I mean, when you look at motivation, it's a funny thing. And I think it's something that people like want to rely on a little too much.
For
Um,
sure. That's a good point.
yeah. And it's like, in perfect honesty, and I've been like consistently working out, 5 to 6 sometimes 7 days a week since I was like 27. I don't remember the last time I was motivated. I
Mm.
literally don't. I literally don't remember a day where I, like, woke up and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to go to the gym." Like, I get, "Oh, this is gonna be great." Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's other aspects to it. Like, sometimes, like, we'll get a workout in together, or you see an old friend in the gym and stuff like that. That's like, "Oh, I can't wait to see them." So you're excited about that. But, like, as far as, like, the motivation, like, that stuff doesn't live here. Um,
Why do you
which
keep
is
going to the gym?
huh?
Why do you keep going to the gym then?
I go because it's like, at this point, it's kind of like, it's not like my personality, but, like, I don't know what else I would do,
Right.
right? So, like, I have hobbies, of course, like, I, play some video games, I'll go on a hike and stuff like that. Obviously, I run and things like that. A lot of my hobbies tend to be a little fitness related, so I'm working on that. Um, but it's one of those things where it's like, I have a particular belief, right? That, I think you see it all the time, as people age and things like that. Things start to deteriorate. You got people that are like in their 40s with like a bum hip. You got, pretty much everyone in their 30s like, "Oh, my back hurts," or like, "I fell asleep weird," and stuff like that. And it's like, all that stuff like isn't normal. Like,
Yeah.
sure, it's common, but when you look at the typical lifestyle of a human being in 2022, that's what makes it seem like it's normal because, there's a lot of sitting, there's a lot of driving, and things of that nature, which obviously is going to affect how your posture is and stuff like that. But um, I think for me, I don't want to feel that way, and I have a particular belief, and there's plenty of data on this. And at some point, we'll go into like, looking at studies on this and mortality rates and stuff like that. Like, if you are moving well, right, for most of your life, like when you get to 70, you're going to be able to do some stuff. There's plenty of people like, look at like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Guy's up there in age, been at it his whole life, right? Does he move like he did when he was younger? No, but he still moves. Like, he's still like, he's got some youthfulness to him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he can get around and stuff like that. Um, and I think that's one of the things that keeps me going. In that, especially in these times, like I was just talking about, where I don't really have a particular goal right now. Like, the
Mhm.
goal right now isn't necessarily to be stronger. It's not to be faster. It's like, I'm gonna go move because I know my body, and when I don't move, I'm all achy and painy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And those bad posture habits will kind of creep in and stuff like that. So, I'm basically doing my best to kind of mitigate, that stuff. And you look at like the discipline factor. Um, I'd say it's even beyond discipline for me at this point. Like, this is just what we do.
Right.
Like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do my job, and then I'm gonna go work out.
Yeah. Also, your job is being a trainer, right? So there's a certain level of expectation that you have to uphold as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a big part of it too. Like, obviously, like, there's tons of research. I think you look at like the fitness industry, there's like a billion trainers. And sometimes people get some creative things going on and like, hey, I'm gonna go test that out. And that might freshen up the workout that day a little bit. But for the most part, it's, how am I moving? How do I feel? Let's go prevent any, further stuff. And sometimes it's just maintenance, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you look at it in terms of a car, I think we'd all love to be Ferraris, but the reality, is that we are not Ferraris. We're like really nice, like, mid-sized sedans, not necessarily too luxurious, but it's got, so, so we've got some cool features. And sometimes you just need to go to the speed limit. Don't do rolling stops, come to a complete stop. Don't speed up on yellow, and will kind of help you just kind of go through. Um, there's also another, a deeper part of it, and I do believe this at my core. It's like, I think life is, the reality of human existence is pretty difficult. When you have, excuse me, my voice. When you've got like so many variables going on, right? So like, oh, like, I have to go do this. Like, logistically, there's things like the the daily chaos of the world at this point. You might have something going on in your life. You might have a baby on the way. You might be injured. You might have, you might have, we work 4 jobs and stuff like that. Like, there's just like all this chaos. And a lot of how we kind of exist, and like what we look at, like, am I a happy person, or like, am I okay or satisfied, or to some degree, like, how am I holding up? Which sometimes that's really what it is, like, how am I holding up? Is like how you perceive like the difficult things in your life and how you react to them, and you can see like what's the thing that's going to set you off. You know what I mean? Is it like someone cut you off on the highway or stuff like that? So like a lot of it is like I want the hard part of my day to be my workout. So that way the rest of the bullshit that's going to happen throughout the day, which is inevitable, it's probably not going to bother me too much. Or if I run into a situation where like I drop a bunch of stuff and I have to pick it up and bend over, like, you know what I mean? That stuff's not going to bother me. If I have to, the elevator breaks and I have to go up 10 flights of stairs, like, you know what I mean? I understand what, I've kind of, suffered a little bit in my workout. Like that's not going to bug me as much because it's like, oh, it's not as bad as that time that, I went to the dark place and took the legs to that level. So, I mean, that's a lot of where it's at right now.
Yeah, no. I think a lot of people can relate to that too, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons like why I kind of like stuck or kept like always going back to fitness is because it keeps you young at the end of the day. It keeps you moving and like look at someone who's been always very physically active at older age and you compare them to someone who was never physically active at the same age, like it just is like night and day. Even now, and I will tell you this, I had the most fascinating experience this past week. I went to like a pregnancy fitness group.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going to it, because I think it's just, like, good from a community aspect of it, um, but there were a lot of women there, and we were all kinda, like, pregnant, like, around the same time, and watching them move and then watching myself move was very enlightening, and I don't really like to toot my own horn, but, like, you know,
toot
if
it.
but if you're like, "Oh, get up, get down," like, do a little bit of cardio, like, I can keep up with you. Right? And a lot of these women can't. And I just found that super enlightening, like how much harder it was for them to get around, to move around, to get up and down. And of course, there could be a lot of factors that play into it, right? I'm not trying to discount it, but I thought that was super fascinating. Like that was a big, like, eye-opening moment because I haven't really been around. Like my best friend's pregnant too, right? But she's also it's like super physically fit as well. So I don't really have like a normal person to compare myself to be honest. It sounds
Yeah.
I don't know how else to phrase that to be more
You,
humbling, but that's kind of what it is.
you, no, no, that's exactly what you're elite.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely toot your horn as much as possible because I'm about to toot it. Um, so one of the things I was thinking about, right? So you mentioned like the pregnancy thing, and obviously like when you were not pregnant, we worked out a ton and stuff like that.
yeah,
And we still work out here and there, but logistically with our lives right now, sometimes that can get in the way of that.
and I'm a
So
different caliber at the moment.
yeah, yeah, you're so much stronger. You're like lifting for two. Um,
Yeah,
the Right, so if you look at, like, your history, like, working out and stuff like that, and I think, you've had a lot of different variables at different times, right? Because obviously you've had some different goals, so, like, you were a trainer, you also competed in bodybuilding, right?
yes.
And then you were not a competitive bodybuilder, and now you're pregnant, and but throughout the whole time, you've been, like, working out, so, like, what have been, like, those differences, like, on that journey, and, like, what's that state like when the reality is different, and obviously, your life is gonna be very different through those times?
Yeah, okay, so it's like I have a lot to say about this, so, sit back and relax. Basically, before I kinda got into bodybuilding, I will say, like, I even though I was a trainer, I wasn't a very good one, even in hindsight, okay? I'm gonna be honest. At that time, I did not know what I know now, and it's like worlds different. I have so many people to thank for that. But before then, like I worked out, but I was not at that level that I needed to be at. So basically, I decided to do this bodybuilding journey in an effort to learn, to grow as both a dietitian and a trainer, because it's basically the you have to be on your best nutrition game and your best fitness game all in one. So that's kind of like why I decided to dive into it. So basically, my from the point that I decide I'm going to do it to the point that I stepped on stage, I only had 70 days in between. So 770 days. I
Wow.
worked, yeah, I worked with a coach at the time, which was so eye-opening to me as someone who was a coach beforehand, but then to actually have a coach, super great learning experience. I recommend it to everyone, because I learned how much the coach plays a role in taking you places. And it sounds duh,
Mhm.
it sounds very duh, but at the same time, I realize, like, if you have a goal that's really hard for you to achieve, you need someone to help coach you through it. So, my workout program during that time was like I was doing cardio 5, 6 days a week, and then I was strength training on top of that 5, 6 days a week. And I did that for 4 months, 5 months, up until I finished competing, and then I decided I was gonna do another show, and then I had some medical issues going on, so it was like, "Are you competing? Are you not competing?" There was a lot of blurriness in between there, but I always kinda kept that going. And my workouts were not your typical like bikini model, whatever kind of workouts. Like I was competing in the figure category and we lifted heavy. Like we squatted, we deadlifted all the way until the very end. It wasn't like just a machine workout, it was much more like functional, I guess, even though functional fitness has its own little stigma within it. But it was, step ups, side lunges, bench press, pull ups, push ups. It was like all those things, right? And so I wanted to keep that going. So basically once my bodybuilding days were over, I was just with a group of women and we all lifted heavy together. And that was super exciting. We had this one trainer, he's absolutely phenomenal, Scott Seinold, he's awesome. And we just kept working out together. And then I moved to Raleigh, so I had to leave that whole thing, and that was really sad for me. And then I started training with Johan, my Icelandic Viking trainer. Shout out to him. And I decided to go more into like the powerlifting realm. So sticking with heavy lifting, I realized I fallen in love with lifting heavy shit and I wanted to go more powerlifting. And I was 2 weeks away from competing in my first show, but my pregnancy, like, it was just so hard for me that I couldn't. So I called
Yeah.
back. You gotta listen to your body sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Your body will definitely tell you some things. It's something I need
Yeah,
to do a little bit better job of, but I've been a lot better with that. That's awesome though. Like I couldn't imagine one competing, two being pregnant,
yeah,
and kind of seeing those changes in your body.
yeah.
So kudos to you. Love
I mean, the
that.
only reason why I really dropped out outside of like those like financial issues during that moment of my time as well, but it was also like I started losing so much strength, and, like, my recovery from each workout was 3 days, like, I would work out, and for 3 days, I was shot, I couldn't do anything, and that just, like, was not a sustainable it wasn't sustainable for me. I was nauseous all the time. It was my first trimester then too, so I wasn't eating, I was losing so much strength, and I was like, "You know what? This isn't the right time. I'm just gonna get injured." So,
Yeah, definitely. You know, definitely don't want an injury, and stuff like that. So, but baby number two, when it happens, you'll be ready to go.
I know, right?
Start planning now.
Did I answer your question?
I think you answered my question. Just kind of shed
Okay.
light on like what that was like for you, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Um,
like a whole nother podcast within itself is like bodybuilding in that whole community.
yeah, it's a big community. I mean, shout out to anyone going through that, that does it. We have plenty of friends that kind of
Yeah,
go through that stuff, so we can kind of see what that's like. But a very very big change, especially in like the homeostasis of your body and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
um, so what do you think are some of the like most underappreciated variables for like training and nutrition?
Underappreciated. Well, in terms of like
Or maybe not underappreciated, but maybe like underrepresentative or underrepresented, or maybe not talked about enough, or like the things that people don't see, like the things that like are under the radar but are actually huge things.
yeah. So I think number 1 is for sure the amount of time it's gonna take you. I think the biggest mistake that I see a lot of times when I coach people is that they come in with these huge goals and they have the shortest time frame they wanna do them in. And
Yeah.
unless, like, you're willing and you're so willing to change absolutely everything, like, if you're willing to eat bark and starve, then I can say maybe you can accomplish some of these goals, right? Eating bark's not gonna help you do anything, but that's just, like, an example, right? Most of the time, people have, like, they just don't realize how long it's gonna take them, and if you tell them realistically what you wanna do in a healthy way, keyword healthy and sustainable, it's gonna take you a couple of years, people probably won't sign up for that program if you're
Yeah,
too honest with them,
it's
right?
so true. It's so true. It's like that. It's like the side effect of living in a world of convenience.
Totally. And then I think the next thing is the amount of work that goes into doing it. Because in order for you, and this is a total cliche quote, but in order for you to do something you've never done before, you have to put in a level of effort you've never given before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Um,
What about for you?
for me, I mean, we kind of line up correctly to kind of shed some light on like my personal journey in the gym. Um, when I was when I first started out, right, I didn't really know too much, right? So it seems like bench press was like the normal thing to start with, like the normal guy thing, like, hey, bro, like we're gonna bench press. And I remember putting 95 pounds on the bar and just being absolutely like folded, like humbled. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can bench press 95 pounds 3 times. Um, and like that was just like such an eye-opening thing. And I was like, I need to fix this. And I think I never really looked at it as like, hey, I'm gonna have this really strong bench press. I think my goal still was like, hey, I'm gonna build a healthy lifestyle. I'm gonna be in shape and things like that. To put it in perspective, now obviously, to be clear, my goal has never been. I'm gonna see how fast I can make my bench heavy. It's never been a goal of mine. It never will be a goal of mine. I'm not really too big at that, but as I worked through my fitness and stuff like that, and like, okay, like, can I get in better shape? Like, can I teach myself to eat better? Can I eat in a way where I'm not hungry but still hit my goals? Can I eat in a way that can sustain my training workload, which certain times of the year is, for lack of a better way to explain it, it's kind of bonkers. Um, and here we are. That was 27. I'm 34 now, and I can finally rep out 225 without a spotter, which would have been terrifying. And like so, like it's one of those things where it's like, granted, that wasn't my main focus. It was more like an all around kind of focus that I bring to my own kind of training, and it just I tweak certain variables here and there. But it's like just see that like that moment of reflection. It was like, I did it the other day. I'm just looking back and I'm like, wow, this would crush me like years ago and stuff like that. So it's just funny to see like I'm working on, better choices, lifestyle, like, hey, move more. And maybe, could I get a little better at running? Could I get a little stronger deadlifting? Could my squat be a little bit better? Stuff like that. Could I not have, could I increase like my range of motion and things like that? And you just see like a side effect of that is like now I can do more than double the weight of a certain exercise. It's just 7 years later. And like you might see me now in the gym and it's like, oh, like, hey, that's you're killing it. Like you're fairly strong. Disclaimer. I'm okay for strength. I'd say I'm pretty average. I'm not taking home any awards. But it's one of those things where it's like, you're not seeing like the 7 years of grinding that came through that, right? All the days where I was like super sore, the days where I was like, oh my God, like the bar is heavy, like what's going on and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
um I think
I
yeah.
think
So you
oh, go ahead.
No, I was to say you hit the nail on the head with the time that it takes to kind of go through and stuff like that. And you want to make sure you have realistic goals. Like, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds in the next month. Like, it's not realistic. Like, you can do it. You're gonna look like you're gonna have the body type of a homeless person. To be honest with you, if you were to do
Yeah.
that.
Totally. I think also too people underestimate like when you're losing weight, it's not like, oh, you're just shedding body fat. Like there's a lot of hormones that go into that have to be shifted. Like your whole body is used to being a certain weight, and that's what its current homeostasis is. It might be 30, 50 pounds overweight, but that's what it's currently like it's normal at, right? So when you're shifting the needle and shifting that normal, a lot of hormones have to shift with that too. Like even the way like your ghrelin hormone, which is like your hunger signaling hormone, right? Your ghrelin, even at like 5% weight loss, it actually starts to increase, which is interesting. So your body doesn't really
Yeah.
like to lose weight, right? So your hormones have to shift with it. It takes a while for all those things to move along with that weight loss too. So that's why you see a lot of people like they have these amazing weight loss stories, right? Check them out in a year or two afterwards, right? Did they sustain those weight loss? Did they sustain that weight loss? And a lot of times they didn't, which is really, really sad. And it's because they sometimes move way too fast and their body just like they can't keep up with the hunger hormones that are signaling them like eat more, or they're never satisfied, they're never satiated, right? And all those things have to move with it with the weight loss. And so it's weight loss just takes time, and that's just a reality. It didn't happen overnight, and you should not lose it overnight.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, that rubber banding effect. If you look at data historically on people who go on crash diets, restrictive diets, any kind of diet like that, when you come off, like you're going back the other way. And then I mean, it's you get like that yo-yo effect in the data.
Yeah,
Um, so obviously, like what we coach, what we preach, and stuff like that is like, how, okay, so like, how do we do that in a way that like works for me, where like I can fuck around a little bit with some snacks and stuff like that, and not like completely undo like my existence and then hate myself for it. Um,
absolutely.
and I
And to
try,
kind of give you, like, some examples, if I may. So, like, when I first started this whole, like, bodybuilding transformation thing, right? I told you I competed within 70 days of deciding to do so. At 54 days, you have to do the math how many weeks that was. I had lost, we'd only say 5.4 pounds of body fat, right? Sorry, of weight, but I actually lost 12.3 pounds of body fat.
huh?
So that's like, hold on, I'll do the math here real quick in weeks, okay? Because I just think that would be interesting for us to quickly talk about. Divided by 7. Okay, so in 7, almost 8 weeks, okay, I lost 12.3 pounds of body fat, right? And I gained 4.4 pounds of muscle. Little fun fact.
That's
And you're
awesome.
right? So I'm saying that to say, like, that was like I was grinding hard during that time. Like my whole life revolved around changing my physique so much that by the time I was done with my first show and I had to start focusing on my second one, I I had such uncontrollable hunger, like you had no idea. And even after when I got done competing, I was so hungry all the time because I went at it like 200 million miles per hour. I had great results from it, but at the same time, my body didn't swing with it, right? Like my hormones did and stuff like that. So in the end, I gained all the way back and probably a little bit more afterwards, to be super honest, because I didn't really do it the right way. I learned a shit ton though from it. I learned
Yeah,
so much from it. And I know what it's like when you just like can't like feel satisfied and you're just binging, right? So anyway, super eye-opening experience. I don't know
yeah.
why I
Oh, for
went
sure.
down this hole, but I totally did.
Oh, I'm here for the rabbit hole. I love a good
Yeah.
rabbit hole. I think talking about like binging and stuff like that, and like yo-yoing, and it kind of segues to as far as like being hungry, because there's an emotion that rhymes with hungry. That a lot of people experience every day, and it has a huge impact on your nutrition and like what you're doing from a planning standpoint. So we talked about like what are those like underappreciated variables in like coaching, and specifically for nutrition. For me, it's emotion.
Mm,
I think emotion is one of the biggest things that we have to deal with as coaches, and like in general, as far as like the decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis around what we're eating. And it's kind of eye-opening to see when you kind of look out. And we talked in the last episode about like, okay, make a food journal, write things down, take pictures of your food and keep it, right? Also, like write down why it's happening, right? So like even if it's a good meal, right? And I hate to use the word good, if it's a great choice of a meal, let's use that. Why am I having this great meal? I'm having it because it's lunch, right? Well, there's a meal like 30 minutes later. Why are you having it? I'm having it because I'm not full, right? Okay, so that tells you, the meal before needs to be a little bigger. But what if it was my lunch was great and then I got home at dinner, and then I waited, I didn't have dinner. I had dinner late because something happened, and then I had an emergency. I had to go handle that. Now I'm frustrated. And I might have this like meal that's inserted here, that like is maybe it's not the best choice and stuff like that, or maybe it's like I had a Dorito or something like that, or I had ice cream, and that became the pint of ice cream, and then that became cookies too, and then I was waiting for my food to get delivered and stuff like that, and like you can see the trigger, and like if you look back, you can kind of see like okay, I was kind of frustrated earlier in the day and I was a little frazzled. And now there it is, right? Um, and you have like that stress eat slash like kind of binge thing. I mean, another big part of it too is like when you look at what we do from a society standpoint, like especially with children, you go and you bring them like, hey, I had a great game today for my little league team. Oh, let's go get ice cream, right? Oh, I got an A on my report card. Let's go get ice cream, right? And as you grow up, right, like the reward is ice cream.
yeah,
Like now, there's nothing wrong with that, but like you have to look at like that's kind of the thing. So like, think of it when you extrapolate that into an adult, right? I've spent my entire life when something of achievement happens, right? It's celebrated with cake on birthdays, ice cream for accomplishments and stuff like that. And like those things can just kind of subconsciously sit there, right? So now, we'll just use this as an example. I go ahead. I subconsciously know that when I'm the emotion that ice cream gets me is associated with the emotion of feeling happiness, joy, some kind of accomplishment. I get fired from my job, or someone breaks up with me, or like something tragic happens like that. I'm gonna subconsciously not want to feel that way. So if I'm sad and depressed, like you're no one wants no one's no one's who's like sad, depressed is like, oh my god, like yes, like I want to feel this way. Everyone goes through certain situations, and right, so they're gonna cling to that, like, "How do I get out of this?" And it's gonna be like, "Well, if I eat ice cream, it's associated with that happiness feeling, so I'm gonna eat ice cream," right, to try to get that back, and you create a binge here to kinda, help with your emotions and stuff like that, and when you go through and then now that's good later down the road, that's gonna snowball because now you've thrown your nutrition plan off, but now let's say, you're over, like, the issue or the obstacle or whatever happened, like, you've worked kinda through that, but now you've put on the extra weight because you were emotionally eating, and things like that, so I think, and that's it's a kind of an extreme example, but that's a really relatable example and stuff like that.
Totally.
And that's something that like when you look at nutrition coaching, it's not just say eat chicken, rice, and broccoli. It's like I had a rough day, I was mad, right? And okay, why are you mad? Honestly, I actually don't know. There was nothing that pissed me off, but like I was really hungry. And ask anyone who's hungry. Like hangry exists,
Yeah.
right? It's a thing, and your choices are going to be different. With those emotions and stuff like that.
I mean, I think that's a great point that you bring up. Like a lot of times it's like you have to look at how often are you rewarding yourself? How often are you treating yourself? Right. Because that can sometimes go against like some of your goals in there too. But then also look at like how much emotional eating are you doing in terms of the negative, right? And then looking at like sometimes what I do a lot is like finding alternate coping mechanisms for different emotions. And sometimes it's like you don't really know that you are eating something just out of like feeling sadness or anger or whatever like that until it happens.
Yeah.
And I do a lot with my clients is like um and I should really charge people for this, but I don't. I have them text me. I'm like, reach out to me like before you go to the Chick-fil-A drive-thru and get those chocolate chip cookies because I know they're amazing. Like, text me, like, tell me what's going on. Like let's kind of talk it out. And if you still feel like you want to go and get those cookies, then fine, go for it, right? But like, let's kind of talk about it and see, like, can we find an alternate food for you? Can we talk it out a little bit more before we keep fostering almost this like unhealthy relationship with food?
No, yeah, for sure. Honestly, I didn't even know that, Chick-fil-A had chocolate chip cookies, so
They
you just
do.
you just triggered me.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, so I think it's like a lot of that is exactly right. Like we make food decisions based on emotion, right? Like a lot of times we go to the restaurant and it's like, oh, what am I in the mood for to eat? It's not like what should I be eating maybe, or like what's going to help nourish my body, what's going to help align with my goals, what's going to make me feel good at the end of the meal. A lot of people don't feel good after the food that they eat. Like that is to me was like
Yeah,
super mind blowing when I started working with people. It's like you never feel good after eating. You always feel tired. You always feel hungry soon after eating, right? Like I think
yep,
that was such an eye opening experience that people really don't feel well after eating a lot of their food.
yeah.
And
Oh, no, for big time. Um, where was I going? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you kinda sit down and jot those things down, right? So, building on the food journaling with what Sandra just said, people that don't feel well, right? It's important, like, if I eat something, within about 10 minutes, I kinda get an idea of the state of my body. Like, I know going into this experience, I was hungry. Here's what I was looking for. I was looking to, not be hungry anymore, and I was looking for some flavor. Um, and after it, I now feel bloated, I feel gassy, I'm tired and stuff like that. Like that, those are all indicators where it's like, hey, like something's going on, right? Um, and that goes into how you take care of your microbiome, which is the condition of your stomach, and that's a lot of that is related to what you've been doing previously. So, um, but yeah, that's a good tactic to build on, right?
mm,
Jotting those things down. Like I ate this and I fell asleep like immediately, and
totally.
stuff like that, right? So, um,
Also, like what's interesting too is like if you've never had like a healthy diet before, it's really hard to understand what it feels like to be healthy. I know it sounds kind of silly, but I
oh no,
totally
you're
understand.
nailing the head.
Right? And so sometimes, like, you might feel bloated after every single meal and you don't even know it. That's just what you interpret as feeling full as, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot too. So, sometimes it's like if you've never really experienced what healthy feel or what if I'm under the impression when I work with people that you may never know what healthy feels like, I highly encourage then to go on like a 2-week just eat clean for 2 weeks. Like, not villainizing certain foods or whatever, but just eat clean for 2 weeks, and then just tell me how you feel at the end of those 2 weeks, and then start comparing your foods and your meals from your normal life to those 2 weeks, right? It's like a super eye-opening experience usually. You're like, "Oh, man, I had no idea X, Y, and Z was kept happening to me, and now I know." And so now you can start making different changes to your life, and I promise you that those changes you're gonna make to your diet, they're gonna be positive things for your life.
Oh yeah, big time. I want to circle back to something that you talked about.
Sure.
You seem to always have a coach,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Right now, we're in a rare stretch of my life where I don't have a coach.
Yeah. And I think I love that you brought that up because this is something that obviously you hear it a lot, right? And you talk about like, oh, like something like, oh, I don't need a coach and stuff like that. Um, who do you think is the most athletic person on the planet?
Oh, shit.
If we
Like,
had, or
one
maybe if
person?
we had like the top three athletes in the world, or from athleticism.
Oh, shit. I feel like it's a very hard question to answer because there's, like, so many amazing, like, athletes. I would say if you're a professional of any sport, you're probably high up there, right?
Yeah, yeah. You see, you got like the Olympians, you got the pro sports stars. What do you think they all have in common?
Yeah, they all have a coach.
They all have a coach. Every single one of them has a trainer, a nutrition coach, and things like that, right? You look at let's say even you look like Kobe Bryant had a coach, Tom Brady has a coach, LeBron James has a coach, right? The coach's job is to kind of create an environment for you to be the best version of you, and sometimes you cannot see that um, for yourself, or sometimes you might just be stuck in a pattern. I think me personally, I always have a coach in some capacity, right? So I'm not going to consider myself a marathon runner or anything like that. However, I did get into running recently. I'm running Spartan races and stuff like that, and I indeed have had a running coach for a good part of a year. And you know, he was very good. Everything was very well thought out, and there was a plan that, like, honestly, like, could I go out and run 6 miles? For sure. Could I go out and run 6 miles and still have the rest of my week not be as affected? And kind of have those variables shift around and like, can I get there faster? And stuff like that. And I think that's a really unrepresented thing. So when you look at like the general population, there's like, oh no, I don't need a trainer. Like I'll just go do this, that, and the third. And a lot of times it's like, oh, how's that working out for you? And stuff
Totally.
like that. So
I
um,
mean,
it's,
honestly, like, once time comes back again, like, I do want a personal trainer again. And I'm a
yeah,
personal trainer myself, and it's always been, like, some people, like, they kinda give me, like, a weird look, like, "You're a trainer and you hire a trainer?" It's like, yeah, because first of all, I'm lazy. I'll be just straight up honest. I am lazy. Like, even my own workouts. Like, it's like, "Oh, an hour's up. We're good here. Time to go home," right? But at the same time, like, I first of all, I learn a lot from my coaches too, and they push me through moments, they push me to things that I would not have been able to achieve in that same amount of time. Because at the end of the day, and I use this all the time, like, I think of discipline as like a gas tank. You only have so much of it in a day, right? And at some point, discipline's just gonna run out. We're like, I see it all the time with moms that I'm working with that are moms and they have a full-time job, right? They only have so much discipline in a day. And at some point, you run out of discipline and then you say, the hell with it all, and you're just gonna go not work out, or you know what I mean? Like you just start making decisions that aren't really in line with your long-term goals. And so by just having a coach, and you don't have to like they're going to hold you accountable and they're going to make sure you're disciplined because you have to show up for that hour because if not you're getting charged anyway, so they're going to make sure you at least do that part of it, and that's an hour that I don't have to worry about it being disciplined, and that
yeah.
is a lot.
Yeah, and for sure, and that's part of it, and I think another part of it too is like, when you look at goals and when you set them, right, you need to tell someone who's like a figure in your life, your goal, right? The one way to adhere to it is to tell someone to say it out loud. Kind of like the same thing with like a daily affirmation, right? So like I personally from like the David Goggins accountability mirror type stuff, write a goal down on a post-it, stick it to your fridge, right? You're going to see it every day. It's the same thing, right? Imagine if you told your best friend like, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? You've opened a window where your best friend might, if you're making like a questionable decision about something, or like you're looking to skip the gym and stuff like that, or like they're either going to check on your progress, which is going to be like, oh, you're right, I should be getting back in the gym, or they're going to call you out, or they're going to congratulate you, right? So they'll give you that positive feedback and encouragement and stuff like that. For some of us, that person can be our coach, right? So coaches aren't just like drill sergeants. We're not just like yelling at you. It's like, hey, let's do the thing. Let's do the thing. Hey, look how far we've come. Nice job and stuff like that. And in a sense, cheerleaders, but also like adherence to that goal. Like it's good to have someone to talk to about it. Like it's like, hey, I want to be the strongest man in America, right?
Yeah,
Probably going to need a coach, but like imagine if I didn't tell anyone that goal, and then somewhere along the lines, maybe a year down the road, because it's going to take some time, I just started questioning myself, and I already have the easy out that no one knows I was even trying to accomplish that. Right. So
yeah.
I can brush off that failure, as opposed to no, like there's like someone's going to know that I did not complete the task. And like I kind of gave up. And like it's a really good um, role that coaches will kind of play as well.
You know what's really interesting with that? And I know you're going to relate to this with what I'm about to say right now, and in particular with clients. I think because we just get a lot more because we work with like a lot of clients with a lot of goals, right? It's great. I 100% I 100% agree with you. You have to tell someone because they will help hold you accountable. But here's
Yeah.
a lot of times what happens. They hold you accountable, right? Like let's say you skip a day because you weren't in the mood, right? They hold you accountable to it. It doesn't feel good. But now you're ready like you went past that anxiety now of oh my god, that person held me accountable that felt uncomfortable. So the next time they hold you accountable, it feels a little bit less uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Imagine like with that remember I'm sure you had this client before too, right? They start off super strong and then they cancel on you. And you're like, "Oh man, that sucks." Okay. But then they start canceling on you all the time, and that becomes their new normal, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. The beginning, that first time you cancel them, like that's like the hardest part, right? The second time still hard too, the third time too, but the fourth, fifth, and sixth time, it kind of becomes normal, their new normal to cancel, right? It becomes their new normal to maybe be held accountable by their friends and stuff like that. So I think basically what I'm trying to say is if you're that person, you can't blame your friend for the lack of you achieving your goal. You can't blame your coach for the lack of you achieving your goal because part of that bargain is that you show up for those goals too. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
holding you accountable, but you got to keep showing up. And a lot of times, the hardest part is coming back when you had a break in there, right? Or you
Yeah.
canceled for whatever reason, right? Or you didn't go, right? That coming back and like how you keep holding that goal up and your accountability up to it is becomes super important.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a huge, huge thing. And I think a lot of people don't put enough focus on that there. I mean, me personally, um, I'm big on like using like the negative aspects of the world to get
Yeah, you
motivated.
thrive on negativity, and especially with
Um,
your goals and your workouts.
yeah, and maybe one day we'll do like a deep dissection as far as like my workouts and stuff like that. But a lot of times, like, and I think this is an unfortunate variable in just society like these days. I mean, it's very easy to tear someone down. Um, or it's very easy like when like we were just saying like speak your goals, like have those affirmations like, hey, I'm going to be the strongest guy in the world, right? I'm willing to bet if I go put that on social media right now, I'm going to go be the strongest person in the world. um I'll probably get like 10 likes, right? Not that I have a ton of followers or anything. I'm going to get like way less than the average amount of likes on any pictures that I have. I'm willing to bet that someone, their first thought reading that is going to be like, the fuck you are.
Right.
Like, no fucking way. And for me personally, like if let's say that was a real goal of mine, um, I will. I'm either going to hit that goal or I'm going to die. Like
Yeah,
those are the only two options. Um, and I think just like for whatever reason, I mean that's kind of like where me and motivation comes from. It's not from like the happy place of like, yay, we did it. And I think that like I'll take a moment to appreciate that yay, we did it moment, but it's more so like that chip on the shoulder feeling. And for me personally, it's like things are like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be kinda cool to do," and then someone and maybe this is the unfortunate reality of sometimes I have a bad habit of hanging around some toxic individuals where they're like, "You can't do that. Like, there's no shot you're pulling that off."
Yeah,
And it's like, "Watch me."
yeah,
And I think that's even circling way back to the motivation, discipline, and things like that. Like, you're gonna run into some bad things. Like, find a way to use that to your advantage. Um,
totally.
I'm
I
not
definitely
saying, yeah, I'm not saying you need to go like to my extreme, right? So, like, for me personally, some of like my little bag of motivation that I keep, I mean, like, it goes all the way back to second grade. Like, you know, and we'll just I find this story hilarious. I do not know why I remember this, but this is like a core memory for me at this point. There I don't even remember this girl's name, and, like, of course, I yeah, it always goes back to a girl, but whatever. Um, and, like, I thought it kinda seemed like we were dating, like, it was a thing, and, like, we were boyfriend and girlfriend in the 2nd grade at recess, and she's holding my hand, and then, like, in the next class, she was holding this other dude's hand, and, like, I was, like, upset, like, that whole day, and, like, like, literally, uh, f 28 years later, for some reason, I still remember this. Right, and sometimes, like, I'll be, like, on a run, and it's, like, really hard, and I'm, like, dying, and it's, like, 100 degrees, 100% humidity, and, like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna pass out, and, like, that thought would just randomly enter my mind, and I was like, "This bitch, like, how" and, like, it goes, like, so far back, but, I mean, the world's gonna give you pretty where I'm going with that is the world's gonna give you plenty of ammunition, and, um, whether you go through a bad experience, something like that, don't beat yourself up about it. Find a way to make that a motivating factor in your life. And how you perceive the negative things that happen will completely change and kind of give you that extra burst of energy.
Yeah. I would say that's, like, a definitely a strength of yours, and that's, like, something that I think you've helped me out through a lot too, like, when I get, like, bogged down by stuff because I'm not naturally prone like that, right? I'm not naturally prone to, like, have, like, negativity help foster my motivation and stuff like that. I go more off the deep end then with my negativity with the stuff, It doesn't necessarily help motivate me, so you've definitely helped that part of it for me, so I'm much more of a positive, motivated person.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad I can be that person in your life sometimes.
Yeah,
But yeah, like if you're going in the deep end, like I'm gonna go get you, right?
yeah,
I'll go sit there with you for a couple days. You know what I mean? Like I get it. And if I help you reframe your perspective or anything like that, like absolutely. And you see this with clients too, right? So the more you work with clients, like your coach is going to become like your kind of person. And obviously we're not therapists, but like I'm going to hear about like Susan's daughter's recital.
yeah.
Like I'm going to know like what I don't have a client named Susan, by the way, but I'm gonna know like who the neighbor is on your street that you hate the most.
Yeah,
I'm gonna know like if your ex said something mean to you at some point. Like your coach is gonna know. You're gonna bring that stuff up as you get comfortable with them. And sometimes like on our side, it's like it's one of those things like that kind of should like you don't want to be digging in people's business, but you kind of want to know enough to know like okay, like who are you today? Like what kind of
yeah,
mindset am I getting? Because sometimes like you might have someone who like they just went through a breakup, they're going through a divorce, and like, hey, I got a killer workout for you, bro. Like, we're gonna like we're doing it all. Like, you crush their soul, and it just like is not a good place. So like, that like interpersonal interaction that was a huge segue, but like that interpersonal interaction and stuff like that like is important. Um,
I think you bring up a really good point. Like when you're selecting a coach, like make sure you connect with that person and make sure it's a person that can challenge you in positive ways, or in the sense, positive ways that get you to the results that are good for you, right? And that help motivate you in the correct ways that you need to be motivated by, right? Like Anthony and I would probably have maybe probably different coaches because he and I are motivated in different ways. So I think it's important that you do select someone that you feel inspired by, that has your back, that will listen to you, but also too that I don't know, this is more me. Like I need like that little bit of fear. Like I don't want to disappoint that person because disappointing that person would be like that would like crush me, right? So I need a coach I have utmost of respect for. So um,
Yeah, I think I need like so I've been training on a program with Pat Davidson, who's one of the trainers in Manhattan. I've been on his program for a long time. Super brilliant trainer, great mind. And me and his philosophy like kind of link up a little bit. One of the things like for me personally, like I don't care about the fear thing. Like failure, I don't give a shit, honestly. Like Yeah, I'm a full believer, like, everyone should go out there and, like, fail at something, like, go fail at something, like, go do something and or go choose to do something and suck at it, alright?
Yeah,
And, like, have it just be, like, a complete disaster, and then see who you are once it happens, right? Are you willing to keep going? Can you do something 100 times and get literally no benefit from it? Like, what happens if you do it 101 times? And what I've learned in my personal life, like, the more you do things like that, you learn about yourself, right? Okay,
totally.
I know how I'm gonna react and stuff like that, so the fear and the failure part doesn't really motivate me. I'm very leap of faithy, but me, like, I wanna take it to, like I wanna we're gonna take it to, like, such a level, almost like a limit, like, how much can I take, right, in pursuit of this goal, right? Like, how bad do I want it? Like, the willpower aspect of it, like, can I survive, like, this training session, right?
Yeah,
Can I survive this workload for a week? Can I do it for 2 weeks? Can I do it for a month? Can I do it for 6 months? And I've learned a ton about my body and, like, what I can kinda go through and what I can withstand. But, like, that's where it's at for me. It's like, um, how long can I run 30 miles a week, right? How many weeks in
totally.
a row could I do that, stuff like that? So, yeah, your coach is definitely important. And also, like, they should be a little somewhat of a role model, in your life as well. Like, you should want to aspire to be something like them because they're going to have you do a lot of things. And if you don't, like, if I was training with, like, a coach that specializes in bikini stuff, like, we're probably going to do a couple things that, come on,
Right,
you mean? Or it's like if I'm training with someone who just, like, likes to get after it in, like, a very basic way, it's like, "Oh, yeah, this is hard, let's do it." And that's not saying, like, everything needs to be hard, but, like, we can have a simple exercise and just make it super hard and stuff like that, but, you kinda wanna, be in line with that, and that's gonna get you, like, better adherence, that's gonna get you better accountability, that's gonna get you better goals and stuff like that, or better, results, excuse me.
yeah, no, totally. I'm a big believer of coaches, and also too, that's why there's different coaches for different people.
Yeah.
Every coach is gonna work out for you.
Yeah, you could get a coach that, predominantly, hey, powerlifting, all right, here's my guy. Or if you want to go compete on stage, probably be a different coach, right? And even, those of you listening right now, you're familiar with different trainers and stuff like that. And you can even hear, like, the differences in how, like, me and Sandra are. Like, we agree on a lot, but we also disagree. We approach things differently. I mean, we have,
Totally.
so, like, a client that loves working with Sandra might not like working with me, and vice versa.
Totally.
And you see that with a lot of people, and it's kind of almost like, hey, what's this tribe all about? I kind of like this tribe.
Yeah,
Um,
that's absolutely correct. So, well, should we my last final thing that I want us to talk about, and I know this episode is gonna come out after Halloween, but what kind of advice have you been giving your clients around Halloween and the whole Halloween candy business?
so I'm. We'll talk more about this, and I'll harp on it for the next 2 months. Right, the holiday season is about to happen. I am all for you. Just get after it on your holidays, right? So Halloween technically is a holiday. Just get after it. Go enjoy yourself, right? If you're someone who doesn't eat Snickers bars, okay, hit yourself with a little fun size, right? If there's a Kit Kat, right, get after it, right? If Reese's Pieces, or Reese's peanut butter cup, excuse me, the best candy of all time. Don't at me. Go for it, right? And then kind of take what we've been talking about, right? Like, if I eat 75 Reese's peanut butter cups, like, write down how you feel because it's not going to be great, right?
Yeah,
But enjoy the day and stuff like that. I think the thing that I think is unique about Halloween, obviously, it take the fun aspect away from it. Those of us that have kids, um, a lot of times one of the things that comes up is like, oh, it's hard to look at fitness or kind of get in shape or make changes to better my lifestyle, because I don't have time. Well, your kids want to go trick-or-treating, you're probably going to take them trick-or-treating. Most Americans, when they trick or treat, are going to do so on two legs. So you're going to walk more, your steps are going to increase and stuff like that. So, if you're someone who's looking, like, hey, what's a great idea and stuff like that, like, go for a walk through the neighborhoods instead of driving through them and stuff like that. And I think that's a sneaky way to kind of get a little bit more movement in your life, and stuff like that. But
totally.
yeah, I keep it pretty simple, and stuff like that. So, what about you?
Yeah. I have a similar philosophy, like, I think people harp too much on, like, Halloween is like one of the things that people don't really get too like caught up on, but Thanksgiving is like the big one where it's like, oh my God, Thanksgiving is coming, and like, what should I do? Like, I have these goals, and it's like, don't worry about those singular days or those singular events that happen in a year. Like that is not the time, like Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, like those 3 days, like those are not the days you need to worry about losing weight. Right? Like, worry about the other days of the year, worry about it then, but not in those 3 days. I 100% agree with you. I think also too, especially with Halloween, what happens a lot is, especially with parents, their kids go trick or treating or they get a bunch of candy for trick or treating, right? When the trick or treaters come to their house, and then they sit on all this candy for months afterwards,
Yeah.
and then they snack on it and snack on it. Before you know it, like they're adding like 300 extra calories to their day, and they only thought they had one or two pieces. So my what I've been doing a lot with my clients is before we even went into the holiday, I said, what do you want for yourself? Like, do you want the candy to be around you afterwards? Like, do you want to give yourself like where you say, hey, I want one or two pieces until we run out of candy. Like what is it that you want, and like start thinking about it versus like just letting it happen to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kind of go in with the plan. So maybe for like what I've heard for a lot of people is like, hey, I want to have some pieces of candy on Halloween. Maybe I want to keep a couple pieces that I really like afterwards for like when I really want it. But the rest I don't want. And then get rid of it. Right? So if you don't have kids, it makes it a lot easier, but like get rid of the candy then, right? If
Yeah.
it's like just might as well just throw it away because really no one should be eating it anyway. Or give it away to someone, right? Bring it to, I don't know, bring it to the office, bring it somewhere, but get rid of it and have a plan that you want for yourself, right? Have a plan going into this holiday purposefully and knowing what kind of outcome you want. Like take control of the situation.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing too, and I'm trying to think, where is this quote from? It's from, oh, Precision Nutrition, right? John Bernardi. If there is something in your house that is edible and delicious, you, someone you love, or someone you take care of is going to eat it. And that's a fact, right? Easiest way, just don't have it, right?
So
Now that's not, now you, we don't have to be wasteful and like, oh, that's not saying on November 1st, throw your Halloween candy away. Just go give it
no,
to
we're
someone.
not saying that. But if you want to do that, you can.
Yeah. Or just like I said, just hey, have that. This is a time to enjoy candy. The rest of the days are not. Or just give it to someone who is a candy fiend and doesn't really care.
Yeah.
If you have Reese's peanut butter cups, send them my way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kinda like what it is at the end, like, just have a plan, like, if you want a Reese's peanut butter cup every single day up until you run out, I don't care. That's fine, that's cool with you, right? That's cool with me, that's cool with you, but just don't be, just go in with a plan, I guess.
Yeah. It's fairly funny story about like if you what you were saying as far as like having every day. Like during the lockdown, I ate a Snickers bar, a full size Snickers bar every single day.
Oh my god.
For like the first 4 months of that, just being stuck at home.
No
Yeah.
shame.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, that was one of the things. I was like, "Hey, like, I'm anxious." Like, "Oh, this helps."
Totally.
So that became, like, one of those things. So there you go, emotional eating, anxiety, stuff like that.
I
Um
used to do the same thing, like, if I was especially, like, when I was, like, trying to lose weight and stuff like that, there were certain vices, and I was like I set myself, like, a timeline, like, you can have one of these things after 5 o'clock every day, you know? And I don't know, it just helped because you knew you didn't have to binge on it because 'cause you're gonna have it again tomorrow. So, I don't know.
yeah. That's how you end up eating, like, 3/4 of a Twizzler.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But also, get what you want, like, you know what I mean? Like, when it comes to, like, you're hitting your vice and stuff like that, like, get what you want. Don't get, like, the healthy version of a Snickers bar, like, just go get the Snickers bar.
Facts. If I'm looking for a treat, and you bring me a healthy version of something delicious, I will become violent, like, straight up. Like we talked about it last time, like cauliflower pizza, cauliflower buffalo chicken bites. Like, no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no, no. I want the good shit. If you bring me some weird stuff like that, like, I will become violent.
totally. I will leave Can I say one more thing and then we can be done?
No, no, I'm kidding.
The best time to have candy of any kind is after a hard workout or after a meal. That is the best time from a blood
Mm,
sugar regulation standpoint and all of that. So, in terms of what a healthy time to eat candy, those are your moments, people.
That would have been good to know a couple years ago.
All right. Anything else you got for us?
I got nothing. I think we talked a lot over a lot of good stuff.
We did.
So in kind of conclusion here, right? Um, right, just pay attention to what's going on and stuff like that. Don't beat yourself up on holiday madness or anything like that. Right? Take a look at like the things that are working in your life. I mean, if you can relate to some of the examples we shared, by all means, feel free to share your stories with us. We didn't shout it out in the first episode. However, you can follow myself. Uh, I'm Anthony Fio at Ant Fio on Instagram. That's really the only social platform that I use. I do have a Twitter, but I don't use it for the intent of gaining followers. And Sandra, if you want to,
Yeah, I had to look it up again because I forgot. My brain, I blame my pregnancy brain. So I'm Sandra Gameler, and I go by dietitian.sandra on Instagram. And dietitian is diet, ITIAN dot Sandra. And Sandra spelled normal.
Sandra,
In
aka Sandy G.
in case you had questions. I also have a Twitter, but you can find my Twitter handle on my Instagram. So let's make it a one-stop shop.
Awesome. It's been fun. Have a happy hobby. Oof. But depending how old you are, you might have a hobby Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.